Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Bro Down. This is the show where we talk about movies, like spoiler reviews on movies, and we react to stuff and all sorts of things. You guys will get it eventually, and we'll get it eventually the more we do it. So, but today we are here specifically to talk about Dune. We're going to give our spoiler thoughts on this. I know Jose and I have been very excited to talk about this ourselves, and I'm excited to talk with you guys about it. And you guys got to let us know your spoiler thoughts here in the comments below, because you haven't done that yet. But before we get started, please hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, hit the bell for notifications. And Jose, what's going on, man? It's good to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here with you, and I'm ready to talk Dune spoilers, man. Honestly,
for sure, dude. I can't wait, and I think this is going to be a really fun discussion. Personally,
it's very, very complex movies. There's a lot to talk about here.
There's a lot. So I actually wanted to open up with this because I'm a book reader, or I've read I've read the novel. So what I wanted to start with here, I thought this would be an interesting way to go with it. Is what questions do you have for me? Knowing that I've read the book, and we'll start with that.
I guess, like, what's in store for Paul? In this next movie that Denis Villeneuve will be. I'm
definitely not sorry. Okay, I'll put it this way: I'm definitely not going to spoil part 2 for everybody out there,
right.
But
So in terms, you mean in terms of this movie, then, right? Questions about just this movie in particular?
Yes, but I could say this about part 2. Part 2 is going to be really hype. If you like Paul in this movie, get ready.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be centered a lot with Paul in this movie. I can feel.
Well, part 2 is going to be even better than this part 1 of this.
I can already tell that it's going to be, because I mean, another question I have is, and like I told you off camera, is this movie had me staying up basically all night thinking about, like, what's going to come in part 2, what's going to happen to these characters. Like,
right.
Another question I had was, what impact is Zendaya going to have with her character to Paul in the second part as well?
Well, how about this? Go ahead and give your overall thoughts on Dune really quick, and then we'll get into all that. Because I was going to give you I won't spoil Dune part 2 for anybody. I literally just had to go over there and hit a button really quick, folks. But I won't spoil Dune part 2 for anybody, but I do want to at least give you some sort of expectation for it. But go ahead, Jose, and give your overall thoughts on the movie, and then we'll get into your questions while I go hit this button.
So I was going to say that, I mean, I'll probably have read the books by the time that the second part comes out, because it is coming out in 2023. So I probably have read the at least the first book by the time the movie comes out. But overall, my thoughts on the movie, I mean, there's no other way to watch this movie but in IMAX. Dom and I have said it, and people over Twitter have said that there's no other way to watch this movie but in IMAX, because this film was made to be in IMAX and only IMAX. Because Denis Villeneuve, the shots that he did in this film, incredible. The score, Hans Zimmer, hands down him always. He's incredible. The acting in this film as well, hats down to the whole cast, because they just did an incredible job. Honestly, surreal the whole time that I was watching the movie. It was very well paced, no complaints at all. I enjoyed the entire movie the whole way through. I was fully entertained the whole time. Honestly, I'm just a big nerd when it comes to sci-fi, and this film really did that for me.
Yeah.
Honestly, it gave me Star Wars vibes, and I really enjoyed that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll kind of second that, man. I mean, for me, I've read the book, so I knew what to expect in terms of plot, but it was all about execution to me. It's like, can this be executed in a way? Because I've seen the 1984 David Lynch film, and David Lynch is a phenomenal director, but that movie, he bombed it. And that's because, in his defense, this is a really hard freaking book to adapt, and like
we've said it too. Denis Villeneuve is probably he's literally one of the best directors of all time. Like,
I think, he's working really well right now. Yeah,
this Dune trilogy, now that we've seen that he wants to make a third, I feel this Dune trilogy of movies that he's going to do are just going to be like, the next one is going to be better than the first. Like, I'm just super excited to see what this man does with the rest of these movies, and I'm super excited. I honestly, like, the Dune Part 2 is my most anticipated movie right now, honestly.
And I'll say straight up, I mean, knowing that he wants to do 3 of these, I will read Dune Messiah
And that's what I
regardless if
was.
it gets made or not. I'm gonna read it. It's because yeah,
That's that's what I was telling the camera when you were fixing whatever it was you're fixing. Is like
yeah,
I'm hoping to have at least the first Dune book read by the time that Dune Part Two comes out, so that I can kind of have an idea of like what the second part's going to be. But like I told you, I'm planning on buying the first three books at least and read them. But I'm hoping to at least have the first Dune book read by the time that the second part comes out,
yeah,
which I mean is coming in 2023. So hopefully by then I'll have
yeah.
the first book read at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So we started with this. I mean, obviously you want to know what happens in the next part, and I'm not going to spoil it for the audience, but I will say this to you and the audience. I mean, expect amazing stuff. I mean, from Paul and Zendaya. If this movie is executed as well as this first part was, and they stick to it and stay as true to it, and Denis makes the same kind of choices that he did with this first film, the second movie's gonna have to be the better part. I mean, because
there's no doubt about it. It's gonna have to be because not only are Timothee Chalamet and Zendaya incredible actors, I just feel like there's so much more to be told that this part has to be better than the first. It just has to.
yeah, and they kind of teased it a little bit for you in this part too. I mean, I'll say that much because you saw Paul kind of in battle. He had the vision and everything, and you saw that.
Yep.
That is kind of Paul's destiny and Paul's fate, and I think that's gonna
To be the leader of the Fremen and lead this war.
well, that will play in, I think, a lot more into the second part of Dune, and so in a way, you already kind of know where it's going, but what Zendaya, or I'm sorry, Chani means to Paul is like the bigger deal at hand, and I think that's going to be the stuff that's going to mean a lot to people moving forward.
Because what we've learned from these visions is that there's parts that are true, but then other parts that are kind of just like one like when Doctor Strange has his visions, he did like the whatever many different ways that it could have happened. That's like what his visions are in this movie.
The outcomes. Yeah.
It's just one outcome out of many.
Yeah. Well, what I love about that, let's kind of talk about the ending here, because I think everything depends. Paul's fate is what's important to this film, and at the end you kind of see that because he has the fight with the dude, and him and Paul get into the fight, and
that fight was amazing, by the way.
It is amazing. I know I've heard a lot of criticism that it was a boring fight, and it's like just because it's man on man and it's silence. I think it works well.
I think I can see why. Well, no, I can't see why, but I feel like the reason why a lot of people hate on that fight is also because he was trying to get the guy to just surrender.
Yeah,
the whole time, because Paul's never killed a man before. He's only it's him trying to get this guy to surrender the whole time.
Well, it's not. That's the thing. That's what I loved about this movie so much, is it went out of its way to take the risks and stay true to what the story is, rather than just trying to make this grand scale battle at the end of it. And I feel like that's one of the parts where David Lynch really messed up, is he really did try to go into this grand scale battle at the end of his film. And so for this movie, Denis was like, we're going to stick with the story and what's actually at stake. And if you think about the story and the characters, it actually is high stakes at the end.
Because obviously the grand battle is going to come in the second part.
Right.
Which is why I liked Denis Villeneuve when he did this fight here with Paul and this other guy, because there was this. I like this fight so much too because there was so much emotion in Paul too. He's like, I don't want to kill you. I want you to surrender. But if I have to kill you, I will.
Yeah.
And you could tell too when he killed him that he regretted it 100%. But when the main Fremen was like, no, this is a fight to the death, he was like, okay, well, it's either kill or be killed. So he killed him, not because he wanted to, only because it's either I kill him or he kills me.
Yeah.
Because you could tell at the end when he killed him, he like went to him. He was like really sad that he killed him. He didn't really want to, but he kind of had to. So
yeah. Well, my biggest fear for this film overall, and I'll say this is, or what it was overall for me, was definitely outside of how if we were going to get a sequel or not. My biggest fear was this, having read the book, the first half of it is pretty much all set up. It's not action, it's mostly setup. There's a little action, but Denis managed to show that we could do the setup and also have the action. So what Denis did so well in directing this is he actually like gave the information while the action was going, and the most important stuff too, rather than like
there was this. I just enjoyed this film so much because of how much emotion was portrayed throughout the entire film.
That too. That's another thing.
Because I'm a very like emotional person, so I love seeing emotions. I like seeing the emotion in people's faces, like how they portray it so well. Like
Yeah.
we've mentioned before, like Ray in her Star Wars films, she portrays emotions so well when she's acting.
Very, yeah. And Chalamet is no exception to that. You're right, exactly.
That's what I mean. Like the emotions that he portrayed here as Paul in this film was incredible. Honestly, he's literally probably one of the best actors right now going.
Chalamet is incredible, and that's the thing. Like for myself, and people could disagree depending on how they took the book, but I think he gave me the Paul Atreides that was described to me in the book, and I can't say the same thing for Kyle MacLachlan, who's a good actor, by the way. I like him in a lot of stuff, and he's worked with David Lynch multiple times. I think he's great in most David Lynch projects, but he's just not completely Paul to me. I think he did the best with what he had, but Chalamet is just on a whole nother level of an actor right now, and I think that with Paul, he did portray the emotions, and I'll paraphrase a little bit too, because when I was saying this movie gave me the action that, while giving the information, when I mean action, I mean like kept it interesting, not necessarily like Transformers where it's like explosion, not like a Michael Bay film action, but it definitely has like enough honestly, going on to keep you interested.
I was gonna say my favorite action scene from this film definitely has to be Duncan, Idaho, when he sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
Which at the same time as well had so much emotion because he goes to close the door behind him so that Paul can't go and try and interfere.
Yeah.
Because he does the whole that.
It's a phenomenal scene,
dude. I shed tears in that scene.
Yeah, and you should. And that's the effect it's supposed to have on you, right? Because
dude. And Jason Momoa this is literally the best performance I've ever seen him do. Like, he did an amazing Duncan, Idaho. Like the fighting sequences that he did in this film, incredible.
Yeah,
he just that fight scene literally was probably one of my favorites in the movie. Honestly, he killed it. Honestly, he's just so good, man.
Yeah, I'll say this. So now that we could spoil it, Chani is my favorite Dune character, and we'll get to Zendaya in a second. But Duncan, Idaho, and the only reason I like Chani more is because obviously she's a bigger part of the story. After we see the fate of Momoa.
I was gonna say we're gonna get more of her in the second part.
But Duncan, film. Idaho is my second favorite in that book. So I was really picky about how Momoa played him, obviously, and I knew. Obviously, Momoa is likable, but in this context, in this tone, can he make Duncan, Idaho likable, but not? The thing with Momoa, and I love him. I think Momoa is great, but the thing with the thing I was most scared of or skeptical of with him is like, can he do it without being so Momoa? You know what I mean? Like he has to do it in the context of the film.
Which I feel. I mean, I haven't read the books, but honestly, I feel like he did do that. He didn't really.
Absolutely.
He wasn't. It wasn't Momoa.
Well, really. He still fit the tone of what the movie was going for. So he had his likable moments, he had his funny moments, his comic relief, but when he had to get intense, he was. And so to me, that's what makes this my favorite Jason Momoa performance. And also that he brought a character to life that I couldn't imagine being brought to life so well ever in the past. I'm so thrilled with that. Yeah.
Like I said, he literally this is his best performance he's ever done in any film. And honestly, the whole cast. Obviously, I have gripes with some of the actors. It's not so much the actor themselves, it's just how much impact to me they did in the film. Which obviously they'll probably have more impact in the next movie, but
yeah.
Overall, the whole cast you couldn't have picked a better cast. Denis Villeneuve did a phenomenal job picking the cast. Honestly, Jason Momoa, Oscar Isaac, Timothee Chalamet, Zendaya, Josh Brolin, Dave Bautista, like
they're all very good.
Josh Brolin, by the way, incredible. He did incredible.
You know what's funny is I read that like Brolin got paid more than anybody for this, and like he's in the movie maybe 20 minutes out of the 2 hours and 35 minutes. I was going
to say I mean,
you need Thanos in your movie. That's what you pay, though. It's like that's. I
was literally about to say he's literally Thanos, like.
Right. I wanted to mention
his Thanos performance is probably my second favorite.
What's your first?
This one.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Actually, no. His Thanos performance is my favorite. This is my second. This is my second favorite he's done.
Only because he did bring. I'll say this for Brolin in this film.
I guess I prefer his Thanos performance more because he's in those. Yeah. He's in those movies more than he is in this one.
Well, Brolin definitely. I'll tell you this. I mean, Brolin, as far as like me having read the book, and it's all subjective. So whatever your opinion is, it is. But for me,
again, I haven't read the books, so.
Well, right, exactly. Well, having read the book, I could say that he brought Gurney to life, and he was perfect for Gurney. I'm not going to deny that Brolin was the perfect casting.
What I'm hearing from you is that every single actress did the character the best.
Well, absolutely, and Brolin brought Gurney to life in like one of the best ways possible, and even if they had to pay him a lot for that performance, it was great.
Well, I mean, look, it paid off, honestly.
Yeah.
Because look how much money they've made from this film.
Because he, again, man, he is one of the best actors working today, along with the rest of this cast.
And his scene with Timothee Chalamet when he was training Paul, that was incredible.
Well, that was another problem I had always in the Lynch version is like you needed an intimidating figure there to play Gurney, and Josh
Brolin did it perfectly.
The David Lynch didn't portray it that way, and that was another problem I had.
But Denis Villeneuve, like all I'm hearing is that everything that David Lynch failed to do, Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, true. It's 100% true. Believe it all, because, and that's the other thing about that is like Denis Villeneuve obviously knew that like Gurney has to be portrayed a specific way. So if we got to pay more to get Josh Brolin, we're going to get Josh Brolin because he was absolutely perfect for it. Yeah,
and again,
even for 20 minutes.
Look, it paid off for every single cast member he got.
Yes.
However much you had to pay them, it paid off because he's. Yeah. I can tell that he's a huge Dune fan. He's probably read, if not all, most of the books.
He knows the lore. That's the other thing I love about Denis is like he clearly understood it, and he understood it in such a way that like he was able to capture it the right way for most of the book readers.
He was able to capture the book probably the best out of anyone that could have possibly captured the book.
Yeah, because like it's like I don't want to accuse David Lynch of not being a Dune fan. It's just the fact that he just didn't have the same understanding of it. He everybody's going to read that book and look at it a different way, but Denis knew how to take that lore, take that information and maneuver it in such a way that was going to please at least most of the book readers. I would say about 90% of them at this point, because most of them are happy with it. And
I'll probably be another one of those.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, I wanted to focus on a couple of these smaller players here that we'll probably forget. So I want to make sure I mention them beforehand. Number one is Javier Bardem, who's playing the I can't remember the character's name, but he's like the main Fremen that comes in and they negotiate with him. With him spit.
You know what's weird is that when I looked up the cast, I remember him from other. I've seen him in other films before. Hold on. Because I looked up the cast and I'm like, yeah, no, I've seen this dude in other movies before. He's incredible.
Javier is another one of those, like, just one of the greatest of all time. Like, at least working
that's what I mean is I've seen him in other films. And
No Country for Old Men's one I point out with him, and he was so good in that film. And while again, he's one of those guys who's a smaller player in this film, and he doesn't have as much screen time.
He was in No Time to Die. He was in Spectre.
That's right. That's right. He's been in
he was in Pirates of the Caribbean, the newest one.
Right. That's right. So,
which honestly, he did really good in that.
He is. I don't like the movie, but he is good in the movie. You're not wrong.
He played that villain very well.
He did. He's always a good actor. He's one of the top notch guys, and
100%.
And here he was a smaller part, but he still did very well. Like when he came on the screen, I felt the presence. Yeah.
I was gonna say his impact to this movie was like when he first presented himself to Oscar Isaac's character, incredible. When he first met up with Paul and his mother, that was incredible. Like he was great.
He's great in this film, exactly. And the thing is with him is he'll be a bigger part in part 2 a little bit more. But
that's what I mean. I feel like
you need a guy like that.
All these characters that we didn't get much of in this film, we're going to get a lot more of in the next one.
You will get building on them for sure. And then the other thing that I would mention too, the other one I wanted to mention for sure, because I think he's fantastic and a lot of people aren't talking about him. Alexander Skarsgard as the Baron was the best villain you could have.
Dave, you talking about Dave Bautista's uncle?
Right. Yes. Uncle. Yeah. And he is phenomenal.
Wait, that's yeah, he's related to the guy who played.
He's related to Bill Skarsgård, right? So yeah,
he's. I think his brother is the one who played Pennywise, right?
Bill Skarsgård, right? Yeah. So Alexander Skarsgård is phenomenal.
Dude, he was phenomenal as a villain. Honestly, like I couldn't imagine anyone. That's the thing is, I feel like the Skarsgård family are just good at playing villains. Like
Yeah,
they're just perfect at playing villains because you
yeah,
have Bill Skarsgård who's Pennywise, who's a villain, and
yeah.
now you have his brother here who's playing this top notch villain in this film. Like they're just born to play villain roles, and he does it so perfectly.
It's another spot where, and I don't want to keep harping on it, but it's another spot where David Lynch failed tremendously because,
All I'm hearing is that he's failed to do so much, but then Denis Villeneuve just delivered
yeah,
perfectly.
yeah. Well, honestly, like David Lynch like failed tremendously on the Baron because, and I understand it to some degree because you have to make the Baron this kind of, sort of like bigger dude who's got like this sort of not bigger in like muscular, but like bigger as in like not the body shame, but like fat in like an unbelievable way. And Alexander Skarsgård obviously had a bodysuit on with that belly, and you had to.
Well, yeah, I was about to say to be fat, yeah.
And you had to, portray him that way. But David Lynch apparently looked at that information and said, "We got to make the Baron a buffoon." And like that's not what he is to me anyway. Reading it, and he has to be intimidating because he's still the villain. And so, to me, when we saw Alexander Skarsgård come on the scene, I was like, "That's the Baron, dude. That's how you do it." And also the other thing that really helps this performance and helps the intimidation level of the Baron.
I just saw that the Baron was the main villain, right?
Yes,
Vladimir Harkonnen. Yeah, it wasn't Alexander Skarsgård.
it's not. Who is he?
No, it's his father, Stellan Skarsgård.
I'm sorry. It is. I knew it was a Skarsgård. I apologize to everybody.
Yeah, it's the father of Bill and Alexander.
Okay,
Skarsgård.
so Stellan Skarsgård. That makes sense that it's the father. Okay, because he's older. But sorry about that, folks. I know you guys are going to jump on us in the I knew it was a Skarsgård. At least I had that.
It's good that I looked it up.
Yeah, yeah. Alexander's one of the sons, I think.
He's got Alexander, Bill, and Gustav.
Right. Okay.
Walter. He's got like I don't know how many.
Stellan
sons.
Skarsgård. I fuck those up all the time, but Stellan Skarsgård is still great.
He's got 8 sons. This dude's been around.
Skarsgård's got a big family. It's a big family, but
but Bill Skarsgård is definitely his most famous
at
son.
this point because of Pennywise, right? But
well, yeah.
But no, without a doubt, yeah. But I mean, Stellan Skarsgård is still really good in this film, and
that's so Alexander Skarsgård was Tarzan in the Legend of Tarzan.
there you go. That was
and he was in Godzilla versus Kong as well.
That's right. I get those two mixed up all the time, but Stellan just sounds like the younger name to me for some reason, but I don't know. Either way, we're back on him, but he, to me, the Baron, he played him so well, and a lot of that, like what I loved about it, and it helped it because David Lynch used like this green background when he portrayed the Baron for his like home planet and everything. Here, you get this like black setting around.
I was gonna say, I really liked when he was recovering from the poison tooth that Oscar Isaac had in his mouth when he was in that black tar bath.
Oh, that was great.
That was one of my favorite scenes with him in it. Yeah, honestly, it was really because it's like he's dark, so it's got like a dark essence to. He's bathing in darkness.
I think the use of black just helped this film so tremendously because it does help you take it a lot more seriously.
Because when I was watching this movie, and trust me, guys, I don't think I've paid more attention to a movie than when I watched Dune, honestly, because it's literally my favorite movie of this year.
Yeah, you have to though because it's so much. But yeah,
I was gonna say it's so complex, but at the same time, I wanted to because this was my most anticipated movie of the year, besides when Spider-Man, obviously that's coming out this year. But you could, and this is what Denis Villeneuve did so perfectly to deliver is that anytime you were with in a bad guy scene, it was always black, and then when you had the good guys, it was always light.
It's true, and that was done really well.
Which made like capturing the essence of like the bad guys being in the dark and then the good guys being in the light. It's just so like Denis Villeneuve just did that so perfectly, honestly.
Except for, and I give this credit though, I mean this is a compliment. Except for Paul's test. And when Paul had to put his hand in the box, that was a little bit black, and I like that because the
main lady,
the Reverend is like obviously writing on both sides a little bit, and they show that. So I was
gonna say because I don't think she was ever in a scene where it was light. It was always dark, but that's because she's kind of writing. I feel like writing more kind of on the dark side.
Yeah, Reverend Mother. Sorry, I was trying to think of what she was. Reverend Mother.
That box scene was really
great,
dude. Great.
Yeah.
I actually read a report of Denis Villeneuve like explaining how he shot that scene.
Oh, really? Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. I mean, I'd be interested to see any sort of documentary of behind the scenes on this, honestly, and then I would love to see something like that for the 4K when it comes out, the 4K Blu-ray. But yeah, which is the way to buy it, folks. If you have a 4K player, get the 4K Bluray. But
because it's probably as close to IMAX as you're gonna get.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, they have it on 4K and HBO Max right now, and it's gorgeous. But you know, and it won't be there for long, so check it out before it goes, folks. But you know,
it's not gonna be in there for long.
No, that's be coming off in November. So
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it a couple times before it goes off.
Oh, definitely. I'm cramming it in. I've seen it 4 times now. So you know,
I haven't seen it once on HBO Max, but
yeah, I watched it once when I got home from the theater immediately.
Yeah, you did tell me that. Yeah,
but that was great. But
because I was asking you if there was an end credit.
Yeah,
and then I read on a report on multiple reports the day after I watched it in IMAX saying that Denis Villeneuve doesn't like that post credit scene bullshit. He likes saving the suspense for future movies.
I think that's fair.
Which honestly to me almost makes it better when movies don't have end credits.
In a way, because well, that's the thing. There's something to the way that Denis directs, because he's kind of like, you know, I want to earn my sequel. I don't want to just like put it in there. You know what I mean? Like, granted, like this does end on a cliffhanger and it's called Dune Part 1 and all that, but like, you know, there's something to the not having the post-credit scene to just like, I want this to feel like an original film, you know, and
which I mean, I guess it works for Marvel, but I feel like that's where they kind of also fail.
Sometimes it just gets a little redundant when everything's kind of set up for another thing.
Exactly.
I understand that. Yeah.
Marvel's done it so many times that it's literally expected for every Marvel film.
It's expected and it's fun sometimes, or a lot of the times it's fun, but sometimes like
I feel like because I also feel like when Marvel films have end credit scenes, it doesn't leave you with as many questions as if it didn't.
Well, the other thing you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure in a way, because it's like now they have expectations, because when you have one that's really great.
Like for example, if they didn't show that end credit scene in Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and Venom did show up in Spider-Man No Way Home, I feel like that would have been a lot more suspenseful than if you would have shown that in the end credit scene.
I agree.
So
yeah.
I'm wearing Marvel right now.
There you go. Yeah, repping. But you know, the thing that I would say about this, and like, you know, even with Dave Bautista, man, I mean, he's great, and
yeah, the little he's in, he's great. And the same thing, honestly, for me too. I know she's in a lot more, but Rebecca Ferguson's character, I just didn't see. I didn't feel that much for her. I didn't feel like she did too much, but I feel like she'll have more in the second part.
She will get more in part 2, and I think like the fact that she wasn't as attachable or relatable in this part of it is very much by design. I think that's how he wanted you to feel about her, and I think she portrays it very well. And you know,
yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, if that's his plan, then she did it perfectly. Like,
I think she did, yeah. And
if we weren't supposed to get attached to her until the second part, then he did that perfectly.
Trust me, I'm pretty sure that's very much by design, just knowing where this all goes. But you know, I think, like, granted, I would say this, I did like her more in the novel at this point than I did in this film, but I understand why he's doing it this way, because a lot of the way he maneuvered this movie is just to get the audience to grasp to it, because like we're talking about the it sounds like you're taking a piss over there, but we're talking about the what's the scene, the test scene. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty positive that came a lot earlier in the story, in the novel, like the test scene. Like, I think that's one of the first chapters.
Do you not remember? It's been that long?
I'm pretty positive it's like in the first or second chapter, because I'm pretty sure in the movie we meet like Duncan and Duke Leto beforehand. I'm pretty sure the test comes beforehand, but the way he did it was perfect, because the way that the story's maneuvered is like, we're getting enough of the information first. Like, let's get the information out of the way that you need to know about the characters, and then we'll give you Paul's test. And then you're like, you've already got an attachment to him, rather than having like 3 chapters of information and then we get to Paul's test. It's like, no, let's just put like some information with story first, and then that way the story can still move while we're giving you the information. That's what Denis did so well, rather than like just
Star Wars.
Right. Well, it's just rather than just giving you the information first, right? It's like, let's give you story with it.
That's what I mean. Like, we've said it before. Rise of Skywalker is a perfect example. Like,
Yeah.
give us more information and story beforehand instead of just throwing us some stuff straight away.
Right, and you can do that. You can maneuver, and Denis proves that. And like the thing is like it's
I kind of want to see Denis Villeneuve do Star Wars movie.
yeah.
I feel like he would kill it.
Oh, I would.
Honestly.
That'd be the dream. I would love that.
Dude,
If
honestly,
he got announced
that,
to do
like-
that, I would die. But yeah,
that would probably. Oh, that's like.
and he'll never do it. I promise you. But I mean, like,
he needs to. Honestly,
he needs to,
man.
but he'll never do it. It would take a lot, I think. But
That's like us wanting the guy who directed Green Knight to do a Star Wars movie.
yeah.
That would be sick too. Like them two doing a Star Wars movie would be incredible.
David Lowery, I think he has a better chance than Denis, but because he's already over at Disney. Because he's already over at Disney and doing Peter Pan. I guarantee he might do Star Wars.
True, yeah.
And he's expressed he's a massive Star Wars fan. I don't think.
I mean, yeah. As I said, we saw that scene where he was talking about the Return of the Jedi scene.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that Denis is not a Star Wars fan, honestly. But
he's more of a Dune fan.
Yeah. But I'll say this. I'll say this about this movie though, because the thing that is so smart, and it kind of goes back into what I was just saying, but the information that's given is given with story. So what Denis did, and this is just me as a book reader trying to make the comparisons or the contrast.
You're making me just more and more excited to read this book, man.
Well, the book will come to kind of like, and I don't mean this in a bad way necessarily, but it's a lot of book, but it'll come to kind of like a halt to give you information, but you can get away with that in a book. But it's like, so how do you put all that information into the movie? Well, what Denis did is he took the scenes. He was like, what's most relevant to that information? What like scene of actual like story, what story driven scenes, what character driven scenes are actually relevant to the information? And let's drop the information with the scenes that are more character driven to make it fit more to a movie. And that's why it got adapted so well, in my opinion, is he knew how to put the information with the scenes that are driving the story. And he just continuously does that throughout it.
I don't know. So I read a couple reports. I don't know if you did, but Denis Villeneuve wanted to direct part 1 and 2 together.
Yeah, he did. And Warner Bros. Wouldn't do it.
Yeah, so he was like, all right, let me just put out a first one, see how it does. And if it does good enough, then I'll direct a second
part.
Well,
he also didn't want it to be on HBO Max. I mean, that's just a fact. And unfortunately, that they made their deal and they own the rights and they can do what they want.
that just reminds me of Scarlett Johansson with Black Widow not wanting it to be on Disney.
At least they compensated Denis for this, though. That's the difference, is they actually compensated Denis for the
by doing what?
Well, they gave him the amount of pay that he would have gotten had it gone in the theater, is what is my point. Is like
good because he deserves it, because he
does deserve it. And you know what?
He smashed this movie.
But the other thing they compensated him with, and obviously they had this planned already, is
Part
to
2.
just give him the sequel. And I think that's fair. I think this is very fair. If you're going to put it on HBO Max, I'll give Warner Brothers that. If you're going to put it on Max, at least give the guy the sequel. Let him finish the story.
I mean, and if anything, they probably would have done it anyways because of how much money this movie's already made.
All right.
Like they've more than enough made back the budget that they put into the movie.
They have now, yeah, and luckily they have, and
they're like, I think they're like 230 million worldwide right now.
Which it's not a lot of profit, but it's profit.
But I mean,
it's profit, so you got to look at it.
It's profit enough to make a second.
It's profit in a post-pandemic era, so that's like something you got to look at.
I think it's probably honestly up there with one of the most profitable movies Warner Bros. Has put out. I'll just put it that way.
No, not as much as Harry Potter. But yeah,
I said that's why I said one of, not the most.
You got to get through some DC movies there too, bud. I would say there's a lot more, but either way, but the second part, that said, they might look at that though. In your defense, though, they might look at the numbers that they made and they'll say like, well, by the time 2023 rolls around, we'll be past this bullshit of the pandemic and people will be back in the theater, and that will be really profitable.
I just hope so. I guess in Warner Bros. Defense, that's probably why they released it on HBO Max too, because we're still in this kind of like pandemic phase where like not many people want to go to theaters.
Exactly, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that as long as they look at the number. Well, they got to look at the numbers in a different way. They can't look at their statistics as if we're in a pre-pandemic era. So if it got they have to take streams into consideration.
I was gonna say, like, considering the situation we're in, we're not in a situation where there isn't a pandemic going on.
Right.
Look at these numbers. As you know, a lot of people don't want to go to theaters, but it's still doing numbers considering that we're in a pandemic phase right now.
And I'm not saying that the day and date thing is bad for the consumer, because it's actually a really good idea for the consumer, but some of the filmmakers kind of got screwed, and you have to compensate them, because that's the thing, is because consumers make these movies for the theater. Denis Villeneuve is obviously a massive believer in the theater experience, and he wanted this to only be seen in the theaters, and I understand why. We've seen it in IMAX. We know why he wanted it that way, because he made it for the IMAX.
He literally said it himself that this was made for IMAX and IMAX only. But I mean, I guess in a way too, Denis Villeneuve has to see that, you know, in the current situation we're in, a lot of people aren't going to want to go out and watch it in theaters. So releasing it on a streaming service, because that's the thing too, is that Warner Bros.
Can't. That's the basic fact of it. Is there people that actually can't?
I was going to say there's people, because obviously HBO Max is a global subscription, so there are certain countries where you actually physically can't go out. They're in lockdown. Yeah. So putting on a streaming service is actually smart, because
100%.
Because Warner Bros. Has definitely made money from this movie from HBO Max viewers as well.
I think people subscribe for it. Yeah, we haven't seen the actual report, obviously, but yes, I would say probably. Obviously, there are book readers out there who didn't have Max before and they got subscriptions, but they have to, not only that, even if you were already subscribed, and I think they did, but what they had to take into consideration was how many people streamed it. You know, because that means that that means once we're past the pandemic, then people are going to go to the theater to see a second one by now. So that's what they had to look at. And I think that was taken into consideration big time, because the people that streamed it, guess what? They also want a second part. And if you have to see it in the theater, that's going to be a massive moneymaker for them.
That's where I feel like maybe Denis Villeneuve's opinion about putting it on HBO Max maybe changed, because he saw where it was kind of smart putting on a streaming service, because like I've said, there's countries out there where you physically can't go out because they're in lockdown. So putting on a streaming service is smart, because I really want to watch this movie, but I can't go out and watch it. So let me subscribe to the streaming service and watch it.
Not to mention, I've talked to 3 people so far who were skeptical about this film. They saw it on HBO Max and they traveled to IMAX to buy the ticket anyway. So great. You know what I mean? Because they were like, they saw it on HBO Max. They loved it so much. They were like, maybe I should watch it in IMAX.
And that's another smart thing too, is that like, if people are skeptical to watch it in theater, to spend money, well, I guess more money than a streaming service, because tickets are IMAX tickets are expensive. We know that they're like 15. Well, it depends on what theater you go to, but they're not the cheapest. So if someone is skeptical to spend that kind of money on a ticket, because not only when you go to a theater do you buy a ticket, you buy popcorn, a drink, all that kind of stuff. So you're spending maybe like $20-$30 to go to watch a movie.
Yeah.
So if people are skeptical to spend that kind of money for an IMAX ticket, it's smart to put it on a streaming service to watch it for, what is it like? How much is it for an HBO Max subscription?
$14.99 right now, I think, maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, still, either way, you can watch it at home if you like.
Yeah, but you're getting multiple new movies per month right now with it, so that's true. And their content for the most part is like the quality shit, so you can't deny
exactly.
that.
So and it's 4K on there too. So
yeah, you get the added benefit, right?
If people are skeptical about watching theaters, they watch it on a streaming service. If they love it that much, then they can go out and watch it in theaters, which is smart to have. I know a lot of people hate on this whole streaming service thing, but it's smart that companies do this.
No, yeah, you're right. It is smart, and like we have to adapt, and that's unfortunate. We have to adapt, because I love the theater experience, because I could tell you,
dude, I'll tell you right now that there is no better experience for a movie than to go to the theater and sit down and watch it, because not only is the surround sound better in a theater than at your house, but the screens are so much bigger and the quality is so much better.
Of course.
That and the ambiance, the surrounding that you're with, other people who also enjoy it as much as you, is just it's a different experience, honestly.
Yeah.
Like purchasing that ticket, buying whatever it is you want to eat and drink while you're there, sitting down, and just the surroundings and the experience is just is surreal that I couldn't imagine watching a movie that I've really anticipated to watch than in the theaters. There's no better experience.
Do me one quick favor here, because I gotta get up one more time. This will be the last time, I promise, folks. Not to use the bathroom or anything. I gotta go grab something. But do me one favor. I want you to talk about your expectations prior to seeing the movie, prior to even my opinion, just knowing about the
Of
movie.
this movie?
Right,
Okay.
just knowing about the movie before you even hear my review. What were your expectations before just seeing the trailer, and as compared to what you ended up getting out of it? But give me
Okay.
1 second.
All right. I guess my expectations. I mean, I I got a very obviously sci-fi feel because the whole spice in the sand, with hallucinogen and um a diplomatic uh view as well because of the whole different you know standpoints. You have Oscar Isaac's character being the lord of that planet, and then you have Dave Bautista's uncle, lord of that planet, and all that. But it did also give me a very Star Wars feel because you have one emperor who's ruling over all these planets, and um, I was just saying that it gave me a very Star Wars feel because you have this one emperor ruling over
In the
all these planets.
trailer or in the movie?
Yeah, in the trailer.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
keep going with that. Keep
Yeah,
going
yeah.
with
So,
that.
so, so, a very Star Wars feel because of this one emperor ruling over all these planets, and then um, the diplomacy of bad guy lords and good guy lords, basically fighting for the same thing.
Yeah,
The whole sand deserts with the and I said it gave me a very sci-fi feel because of the whole spice hallucinogen in um why am I forgetting the planet's name?
Dune or Arrakis. I'm sorry.
Arrakis, that's what it
Sorry,
is.
you
Yeah.
could call it Dune or Arrakis. It works both ways, but yeah,
And
go ahead.
then also the worms kind of gave me a reminder of
Oh,
the
sandworms and yeah, shit like
the
that.
well,
And
the,
the
the monster in a new well the bones in A New Hope, the monster that was in the
Crate Dragon,
that was in Mandalorian. Yeah, it
Crate
gave me
Dragon.
vibe.
Yep.
It gave me vibes to that, and it honestly just gave me a Star Wars feel, and that's why I was super excited for the movie, just because it gave me that Star Wars reminder. And I just love sci-fi so much. It's honestly probably my favorite genre of movies to this day, honestly, and so before pre the movie and your thoughts on it, I was super excited, very hyped to watch this movie because it was something different that we really have never had before. And when I saw that Denis Villeneuve was directing this movie, I was like, okay, yeah, this is
Yeah.
gonna be
Well,
one of
you
the
were a
best.
big fan of Sicario, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I had seen Sicario by Denis Villeneuve, and I honestly, what's his name? I forget his name. The main actor in that
Oh,
film.
Benicio del Toro. Yeah.
Yeah, he was incredible in the film, and the way that Denis Villeneuve directed the film was incredible. So I didn't expect anything less from Denis Villeneuve, and he's such a talented director, honestly one of the best. And I just was super excited for this film because it was, like I said, it's nothing that we've ever had before, and something different, and again sci-fi, which I love so much. So I was super excited for this film, not even knowing that there were books for this film. I just thought Dune was like something completely original that he was wanting to do, which made me even more excited for this film.
Yeah.
Then I found out that there were books for this film when you told me. I was like, oh, so there's books. And then, like I said, I went to Barnes and Noble and saw that there's 6 books in this franchise, and now that I've gotten more into reading books, I'm really excited to start reading the books too. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so when you saw the movie, how did the actual movie? Well, okay. So first of all, let's preface this. Let's talk about the experience because I saw it before you, and I called you up, and I was like, "Oh my
Well, yeah,
god!"
yeah, because you DM me. I was like, I need to call you right now.
I was flipping the fuck out about it, right? And then
I was like, okay, and then you call me. You're like, yeah, I need to talk to someone about this like right now.
yeah. So I mean, so like when I called you, I'm sure you were like, "Yeah, it's going to be a good movie."
Well, no, when you called me and you were like flipping out, I was like, okay, now I'm even more excited for this one.
Oh, good. I'm glad I raised your expectations.
Because we're very like minded.
We are very like-minded, yeah.
We see things the same more times than not, and we actually really never see things different, really, and that's why I cherish our friendship so much.
Oh yeah, thank you.
So
Me too.
so
Yeah.
so when you told me that you like super enjoyed this film, I was like, okay, yeah, now I'm super excited for this film. And then you told me, yeah, you have to watch it IMAX, and so that's when I reserved the ticket time. even though I spent like $21 on this ticket, I was like, I need to get IMAX. So I
You have
reserved
to.
this.
Yeah.
I reserved the seat, and I'm glad I reserved my seat because if not, I wouldn't have gotten that seat. And I'm glad I watched it on IMAX because honestly, guys, there's no other way to watch this film by
It
IMAX
really
because
is hard to say.
the
Yeah.
experience. I'm not trying to brown nose IMAX. I'm not trying to kiss their ass or anything. I'm
No.
genuinely I'm speaking from the heart right now. Like there's literally no other way to watch this movie than in IMAX because the
Denis
experience.
Villeneuve was not kidding when he said that. He was
Literally,
right. He was right. Yeah.
literally he was not kidding because I'm telling you guys that the experience I had in IMAX with this film was the most surreal experience I've ever had with any movie. Honestly,
It's
like,
pretty wild because
dude, it is a wild
yeah,
ride.
when you see the
honestly.
scale of shit, like I'm being serious because when you see the scale of like the sandworms and
I
all
was
this
gonna say
other
like
shit, and it's like
when Paul was staring at the sandworm in that one scene.
yeah,
I was watching a theory video saying that like that's when he really connected to the sandworms because it was like it was
I like
the
to think that too. Even
the
though I've read the
mouth
book, I like to think that too.
the mouth was like his eye and it was like pulsating so it's
Yeah,
like he really had like a connection with the sandworms at that point.
I believe it. And like for me, so you saw the movie and you loved it, and that blows
Dude,
that makes me happy.
Dude, it's my favorite movie of this year, 100%.
I'm glad
Honestly.
for that because granted you haven't seen Quiet Place 2 yet. That's my favorite so far. This is my second, but still even that said, I'm glad because there's a big problem, and I know that all film is subjective and everything, so I'm not trying to really shit on anybody who didn't like this movie, but there's a big problem right now with audience members, and this is I don't even necessarily blame them. I just kind of blame the industry and the way it's going, where if we get a movie now that really requires you to think and pay attention a lot, modern audiences can't connect to it anymore.
We've said this before too, is that like, I'm not trying to be like rude to these kind of people, but nowadays people just don't want to think when they watch a movie. They just kind of want to watch the movie, enjoy it, and that's it.
Yeah, and I don't fault them for that because that's just how we've been catered to now. That's most filmmakers will just give you the popcorn flick, and it's unfortunate.
That's I don't want directors to do that. I want directors to make us think about films because what's the point in watching a film if you're not going to want to think about it? Like that's half the excitement right there is coming out of the film and having thoughts and theories about
the conversation like we're having now. In my opinion, that's the excitement for me.
That's exactly that's when I get out of a film that I really enjoyed. That's the first thing I think is like, all right, what kind of conversation am I going to have with Dom? What are we going to talk about? It's obviously watching the film is an incredible experience, but getting to talk to you about this kind of stuff is an awesome experience as well. Honestly.
And for so long, I've just always wanted to kind of get back to that in movies, and we just for so long I feel like we haven't had it. Like there's been the exceptions for sure, but I mean like Dune is really one of those conversation starters. It really makes you want to talk about the movie.
It's such a complex movie that there's also just so much to talk about. Honestly, like we could talk about this film for hours. Honestly, like.
And I don't want to get into a bigger thing here, but the fact is like that's why movies like The Last Jedi just don't go well with people because it's like, well, oh god, there's a lot of thought we got to put into that. Well, we don't want to do the work to do that, to talk about it.
And I feel like that's why I feel like a lot of people say that The Force Awakens is their favorite because you don't really need to put much thought into that.
It's an easy movie, and I love it.
Because you're introduced to new characters, so there's not really much that you really need to do. There's not much you need to think about for that film.
And I love that movie for sure. But what happened to art? You know what I mean? Like I like to.
That's what I'm saying. And that's why Rian Johnson killed it because he really made you like think.
Sure.
Like he's honestly one of my favorite Star Wars directors right now. Honestly, he's killing it.
And and I know you haven't seen it yet, but like it bothers me that like a movie like Blade Runner 2049 flopped as hard as it did because it's a thinking man's movie, and that's like it's so great if you watch it. It's so amazing. It's great sci-fi. It's like
I can't wait to watch that film. Honestly,
yeah. Even like the movie like I saw this year, like The Last Duel, which I had problems with. I thought that there were parts like they could have done better with. I thought the pacing got dragged down because of the story structure in a way, but at least it made me think at the end of it. And Ridley Scott's one of those classic time directors, and he knows how to do that. It's like I want those movies more, and this movie did it tenfold. I guess is my point. Is this movie is one that did that tenfold in it. And it had a really good balance of the artsy side of it and the sort of popcorn flick blockbuster, in my opinion. And like, the action in here, the action you get is top notch. Like it might not be like action every 5 seconds, but when you do get it, it's top notch. It's some of the
I
best
just
action
yeah, I
you'll
was gonna
see.
say, honestly, I just really enjoyed the emotional parts of this film because there was just so much emotion throughout the entire
Yeah,
film,
that's the part I
and
connected to more. Yeah,
that's like I've said, I'm an emotional person, so I love when films portray so much emotion because I can feel their emotions and almost
yeah,
relate in a way too. So
yeah,
give me more of that kind of stuff. Maybe
yeah.
if it's gonna be a trilogy or a two movie thing, give me more of the emotion and then give me the action later. Like that's the kind of or if you're gonna give more emotion, put some action in there like this Dune movie did.
See, I
But
can't
just
wait for you to go through the Blade Runners or Arrival. Arrival's the one you got to watch from to me.
give me in the first movie more emotion than action, and then the second one give me action but still give me
Yeah,
emotion. Like always
yeah,
just give me emotion in films because
yeah.
that's really what does it for a film
I
because
agree. Yeah,
you can always in a way just relate to it, you know.
yeah. This took me back a little bit. Oh, really quick. Promise me something. Let's watch Arrival together.
I'm down, honestly.
Okay,
Like
because I want to see your reaction to that one.
you've hyped this movie up so much
That
that
one, personally, I want to see your reaction to Arrival. So let's watch that one together. Don't watch it before me, but
I'm down.
because
I mean, what service is it on?
I think HBO, but we'll watch it together because I want to see your reaction, knowing how you connect to emotional parts of the story. That's why I want to watch it with you.
Literally like sci-fi and emotional films are
Yeah.
my favorite because I'm just such an emotional person that I love connecting to. That's the thing too, is that when I can connect to a character through their emotions, those are the kind of films that I thoroughly enjoy. That's why I connected to Paul so much in this
Yeah.
film because his emotions were just incredible
Yeah.
throughout this film.
I want you to, first of all, think of more questions for me since I've read the book. But, the other thing that I want to touch on here while we're doing that is I want to take y'all back to 2001 because 2001, two very important things happened for me. Number one, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone came out, and that was like one of the moments I realized I loved movies as much as I did because it moved me so much. But then shortly after, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring came out, and that, even as a child, I knew that there was something different about that, and I knew after watching that movie that was something I had to put a lot of thought into, a lot of lore into. And so for myself, watching Fellowship of the Ring, and watching Dune, I thought back to Fellowship of the Ring and what that was like, because Peter Jackson was one of those guys and one of those directors that was taking those risks at the time. Like, we're going to make people think, you know what I mean? Yes, children can watch this movie, but it's going to make them think. Dune is a lot like that. Dune is very much, it is like Star Wars comparison because of the lore and all that, but we watched a video beforehand. If you look at all the lore for Star Wars right now, it's very dense, much like Dune. But you can,
It's so dense that it doesn't even fit in a 1 hour video.
of course not, yeah, and like, but the difference was with Star Wars, I think, and why they're so successful and they should continue on that path for sure, is they break it up into little pieces, everything they do. But Dune is like, we're gonna put it into a movie, we're gonna make you, this is true cinema. Like, there's no other way to describe Dune.
So honestly, like that's what I'm
true
saying.
cinema.
Like if this movie doesn't win an Academy Award of any kind, I'll be very disappointed. Like, it needs to win at least like Academy Award for cinematography.
I think it should be nominated for Best Picture, hands down.
And it needs to win an Academy Award, because if it doesn't, I will be super disappointed, because honestly, Denis Villeneuve, like, I might have to tweet about this guy, because he honestly just like I told Dom off camera. Edgar Wright saw one of my tweets, so I might as well just tweet out to Denis Villeneuve, because if this dude doesn't win any kind of Academy Award for this film, I will be very disappointed, because he honestly killed it. This is his best film ever.
Yeah, dude. And this is go ahead,
dude. This is the kind of I just want to see more of this kind of stuff. Honestly,
and I'm glad you had that connection to it, because this is the type of stuff I've been saying about Denis for years. Is I've been saying this: put him on like a blockbuster, man, because he will kill it, man. You put him on like one of these blockbuster movies like Dune, he will kill it. He'll destroy, and he showed that, dude. He didn't stray away from what he's great at. You know what I mean? He kind of made it slightly more accessible, maybe, but he didn't stray away from what I think he's truly great at, which is just really good character development and telling great stories. And I think that this is something that he did very well here. And his visual art is, I mean, the way he behind the camera, he's phenomenal behind the camera. He knows where to set up shots.
Honestly, his vision for filmmaking is just so unique and so special and just honestly jaw dropping. I honestly want to learn from this guy.
To me,
Like
it's inspiring because you could just tell, like, when I watch it anyway, like, any of his movies, anytime I watch a Denis movie, I know that this guy grew up on the same type of cinema I did. So it just, always inspiring to me.
Honestly, same here. Honestly, like, I would really want to learn from this guy because I, it's just so inspiring the stuff he does with his films. Honestly, like, especially this film, he honestly killed it, man.
Yeah. Now let's so let's talk about Oscar Isaac as Duke Leto, or Leto Atreides, because this is somebody who I thought in the book too, man. When I was reading it, I was like, how is Oscar? I love Oscar Isaac. Just to preface that, by the way,
Star Wars,
he's phenomenal. Star Wars. My favorite performance of his so far is inside Llewyn Davis. He plays Llewyn Davis. That's a really phenomenal flick.
You know what film? There's. What was that card film that he was in? I really want to watch.
Card Counter, I want to see too.
I honestly, just from the trailer alone, I could tell that it was an incredible, like a great film.
So I knew he was a phenomenal actor, but I just didn't know how he was going to portray Duke Leto's probably, honestly, if you're talking like strong presence is in this movie, you have to be strong, but you have to have a heart to you. You know what I mean? So he's got this like strictness, but he also has a lot of heart to him.
It was a very different role from what he's played before, honestly.
But destroyed it.
That's what I mean. Like, I've never seen him play something like this before, but he absolutely killed it. Honestly, he
destroyed it. And he's one of my favorites in the movie, and because of that, and like, honestly, oh my gosh, that part where he's like, it makes me emotional when I see it in the movie, because I'm like, that's Duke Leto right there when he delivers that line where he's like, all right, guys, tell them when they're trying to get the people out because the sandworm is coming. And he's like, against all odds, we're gonna save these people. And then that's impossible. And he's like, we'll make it work. That is Duke Leto to a T. And Oscar Isaac, he's so likable, dude. And I would imagine, well, you were, not knowing about it, that you were probably very emotional about his death, because it was like, to me, that was one of the saddest parts in the book, is knowing that Duke Leto died. You know,
honestly, bro, when I saw that, you know, because I obviously could tell that he was gonna die when he got
when he
got shot by that doctor. I was like, okay, yeah, well, his death is coming for sure. When he's like, all right, put this poison tooth in your mouth, and at any time press down on it, and you'll kill a whole, army. I was like, okay, yeah, so his death is coming for sure. And when what was very emotional is, you know how his father was it his father, the Matador? Was that his father?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When Oscar Isaac bit down on that poison tooth and killed almost every single person in that room, and then it panned up to that bull.
Yeah.
That was so. Dude, oh my god, that was so emotional. Man.
It was.
That scene was. Again, Denis Villeneuve, man, he's just too good, man. That scene was hella emotional, man.
And you got this guy too, man, who just goes down fighting for what he believes, and that's what I love so much about Duke Leto, and Oscar Isaac's so good at that. He's perfect for it, honestly. Now that I saw it,
Jason Momoa did the same thing when he sacrificed himself
absolutely,
for Paul. And he fought for what he believed to the death.
And these are the story points that work for this movie, honestly, and that's why it works for a film so well, is because you do get these characters that are like, they go out, but they go out fighting for what they believe, and that's an inspiration. There's an inspirational message behind all this. And
you know what I really found emotional, when Paul was fighting that Fremen. When Paul did that, it just reminded me of when Jason Momoa. It was
amazing.
Dude, that brought a tear to my eye, because honestly.
That was one of those things that was described in the book, and I remember thinking, I wonder if Denis gonna do that, and then he had him do it. And I was like,
I'm glad he did. Dude, that was hella emotional.
100%, dude. Paul Atreides' journey is very emotional, and we'll talk about Chalamet a little bit more here, because there was that part too, man. He plays Paul so well, like I said, but there was that part where he was like, oh my, because I never, even reading the book, I didn't expect it to be so good in a movie. But like when he was talking about, when he was yelling at Rebecca Ferguson, remember that? And he went like insane because he was like, He
Oh,
was like,
when
yeah,
they were like hiding under the sand, and he was having that vision, and he
yeah,
was
yeah,
yeah.
and he was like, your Betty Jeffrey made me a freak. The way Chalamet played that and the way he delivered the lines was
Dude,
like better than I could have ever imagined. Yeah.
dude, every single delivery that he like, every emotional scene that he did, every single part he delivered, like even his delivery with the test that Reverend Mother gave him, that was incredible. His
Oh,
acting
great,
there, dude,
great.
I'm telling you, his acting throughout the entire movie was incredible. Honestly,
God damn, I
he's
want to watch this again.
dude. I'm probably watching it tonight or
Yeah,
tomorrow sometime, bro.
I'll watch it tomorrow again. Yeah,
Dude, oh my, I need to watch this movie again, man, because.
you know, yeah,
And I'll probably catch some more stuff watching it a second time, honestly.
you will for sure. But I mean, for me, I mean, the thing about Chalamet is, he's top tier beyond belief, and the parts where he has to get emotional, he does it. With the parts where he has to be funny, he is. With the parts, so
Whatever part he needs to play, he does it to a T.
everybody
Honestly.
did though. They all knew the assignment. We've prefaced it already.
That's what I'm telling you. The whole cast, like Denis Villeneuve, could not have picked a better cast than the one he did, because everyone showed up and did their part.
So
I was like, dude, it was incredible.
So I did ask you to think of some questions for me, but I have a big question for you because I want to know how this played for you because you hadn't read the book. To me, this in the movie, at least, it would be one of the big oh shit moments for everybody, and I want to know how.
It probably was for me in the movie.
I want to know how you reacted to it. The voice, which is, I guess, Dune's version of the Force, is the voice
what voice?
So they're in the it's not a helicopter, they call it something else, but
those the ones that flap up and down,
and they're locked up. Are you
talking about?
They're tied up.
You talking about when they're in the sandstorm?
Well, they're tied up in there, not in the sandstorm, but when they're in the let's get to the sandstorm next though, because I have a question about that too. But they're him and Jessica, Lady Jessica, his mother, are tied up in the let's call it the chopper, and by the Harkonnen have them tied up at this point, and so they're tied up in the chopper, and they use the voice to manipulate the guy to get him out.
Oh, yeah, almost like the Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, so I want to hear your reaction to that. Was that a big oh shit moment for you?
Well, because I mean,
they set it up early on, but like,
I was gonna say because Paul did it with his mother.
But the way they brought it back, I thought that was like the way they executed that. I was like, that's going to be a big oh shit moment for the audience.
Honestly, dude, it literally sitting in that theater, I was like, I literally said in my head, I was like, oh shit, this is like, Star Wars with the mind trick, except they don't have to wave their hand. They can just project a voice that makes them do whatever the hell they want them to do, which I thought was insane and incredible. Honestly, it was definitely an oh shit moment. Like, well, okay, yeah, this is gonna be like a big part later in the second part for sure.
Yeah, well, I love that this film made it to where it's like immediately this is something that they could just pull out.
Oh,
it took a lot out of them. But go ahead. Yeah.
Another part that I really liked in the film was how Paul's mother would talk to him too in like their own sign language. I thought that was great too. Honestly, it was incredible.
Again, like, and this is for people that didn't read the books. They set it up perfectly in the beginning, so that way when you got around to it later, it just played so much better for that reason. Part of not giving too much away, but part of the reason I think you're gonna love Quiet Place too. But yeah, yep. Wait. But just you wait. But anyway,
I don't like horror films, bro, and I feel like that one would scare the hell out of me.
You'll love it. You'll love it. I promise. Knowing your taste.
Yeah, I guess what I'll let you know if I prefer that one to Dune. We'll see.
I don't know if you'll prefer it to Dune, but you'll love it. I knowing your taste, you'll love it.
I hold this movie very close to my favorite of the year.
I'm glad. You should by all means. And if it remains your favorite of the year, that's not a problem with me, man, because that's a perfect pick. Trust me.
I feel like
great.
I feel like I'll like this movie more than Spider-Man, but we'll see.
Oh, me too. At this point, I definitely can almost guarantee it. But the other thing I wanted to bring up too was the Sandstorm, because you had that moment when Paul. That was such high stakes the way they played it too. Even though I knew it was coming, it was like such high stakes because Paul is kind of out there abandoned, and he has this like vision, and it like holds him down, and it keeps him out there in the sandstorm. That was amazing. That was like,
yeah, that vision of like that it was basically the black guy who basically helped him get out of that situation
yeah,
in the best way possible, being like, you got to be one with the sand.
yeah.
And so he like brought in the wings and kind of just went with the sandstorm. That was,
That was
bro.
amazing. You don't even
Oh,
really see the
amazing.
full thing till later because he's like, I had a vision out there, and then they're like, what was it? And then he reveals it, and I loved how they did that because it was like, we're gonna hold it back for the audience, and they're gonna be like, what the fuck for a while, but we're gonna tell you later. Yeah,
Because that's just another proof of how his visions are like one outcome out of many, because everyone at that point was thinking that the black guy was going to be the one that kind of like mentored him from the Fremen, but then he goes to fight him, so it's really the which okay, this is what really blew my mind, because when I got out of the theater, this is what I was thinking. You know how in his visions it was Zendaya who killed him,
yeah.
and then it was the black guy who was mentoring him, but it ended up switching, and it's actually going to be Zendaya who mentors him, and then he's the one that actually had a vision of the black guy killing him, and then
I
he
hate
ends
to
up
keep
killing the
referring
black
to
guy.
him as a black guy. I wish I knew the character's name, but yeah, keep going. I know what you're saying.
But yeah, like the fact that his visions were almost the opposite
Yeah.
was crazy.
Oh,
Honestly,
phenomenal. Yeah. No, for
yeah.
sure. It was played so well, man. And yeah, I agree with you for sure. The other thing that's,
But I'm about to look up that guy, just so we don't keep calling him that, because.
yeah, I just feel horrible, but
All right,
I just genuinely can't remember his name.
I don't want to pronounce the actor's name because that seems way too hard. Um, but he played Jameis.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
It's Babs Olusanmoken.
Okay, so Jameis. Okay, so we'll refer to that's right. You're right. Yeah, I just couldn't remember his name for whatever reason.
Yeah. So yeah, honestly, the visions played a much bigger role than people really could probably think in this film.
Oh, for sure. And it just adds so much. It adds so much.
Like I said, it honestly reminded me of like Doctor Strange in a way, like when he had his like visions of the future.
Yeah.
That had like multiple different outcomes. It kind of almost reminded me of that.
Yeah. As a book reader,
But
I'll say.
then I also, that's what I also liked, though, is that how he kind of did the opposite, where Doctor Strange saw multiple outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
He would only see one possible outcome, where Doctor Strange saw like 14 trillion or however many outcomes he saw. He would always only just see one outcome of many possible outcomes of his future.
Yeah. Another thing I loved, and this is since I am a book reader, and for the people that have also read the book, I'll make sure I'll throw this one out there, because it is a big deal in the book. Is the and people will know what they're actually called, and I'm sorry I'm blanking on it. But the guy who was like the human calculator was great. Right there.
Oh yeah, so here you go. Stephen McKinley.
Okay.
Stephen McKinley Henderson. He played Thufir Hawit.
Is that the human calculator guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
You talking about the white guy with the gray hair?
Well, but he put his eyes back.
Yeah, that's the guy. The guy who was standing next to Oscar Isaac.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, that's him. Stephen McKinley Henderson. Thufir Hawit.
Yeah, bigger deal in the book, granted, but still, like, I'm glad that they included it. Like, it was like in all this time you didn't have to, and
that's a really cool concept of having people in this Dune universe who can just put their eyes up, calculate stuff super quick, and just tell you like straight away.
I can't remember the name of the species. There's like a certain name for these, not species, but like these people, and like I can't remember the name of them, but they basically are described as human calculators in the book, and I was just so glad it was included. And it's things like that Denis did so well. Like I said, he still included the things you wanted to see if you were a book reader, but if you weren't a book reader, you might have questions about it, but it didn't take away from your experience, I guess, at the end of the day. I guess for you, Jose, I know you're trying to look something up.
He was, he was a Menton.
Menton, thank you. So yeah, okay, there you go. So that's what they are. They're the Menton, and they are basically human calculators.
That's what Google's for.
Yeah. So I guess for you, because it's a very dense film, a lot of lore. I mean, so I'll go ahead and let you ask whatever questions you have for me as a book reader about this film specifically.
Well, I guess one thing that I found interesting was how Oscar Isaac's Rebecca Ferguson's character, Lady, what's her name?
Lady Jessica.
Lady Jessica, how she was always in the works with the Reverend Mother in that organization, wanting to
Okay.
bear heir to to the one, and how she said, it's being wasted on a man. Um, I guess in a way, I kind of found it sexist. To men, because they wanted I guess a girl heir to be the one. Um, but I always found that interesting how she was always in works with them, not telling her husband that.
Well, if you look at okay, so I'll kind of answer that a little bit. So this is my take on it. This is my take. Everybody's going to probably have a different take on this, but this is the way I look at it. So Paul being the one, or actually the Kwisatz Haderach is actually what they call him. The chosen ones, the Kwisatz Haderach. Um,
Is that what they call him?
that is, yes, they call it a couple times, just a couple times in the movie. He's the Kwisatz Haderach. Is what they think he is. So would you look at the lore of sort of the Bene Gesserit, which is what Paul and his mother are, or they're Bene Gesserit. This is their version of the Jedi, I guess. The Bene Gesserit, if you look at it, it is this is my take on it. It's very female predominant. So I think that they were just a little bit surprised by the fact that
It was a man.
it was a male, but I don't necessarily look at that as sexist to men. I just think it was added to the surprise of the characters. At least as a book reader, this is my take. Because if you look at what they are, and they kind of talk about this in the movie, how the Bene Gesserit all kind of connect with the Reverend. So like the Reverend Mother of Lady Jessica is the one we see in the film, but there are multiple Reverend mothers, and so there's multiple throughout the Bene Gesserit. So they're Reverend mothers for a reason, because I think, at least my take of it, and somebody can have a different take, and that's fine. The Bene Gesserit are just predominantly women. That's just how it's always been, and so the fact that. I guess it's kind of like I guess it's trying to say to symbolize it, like Paul he's kind of a mama's boy, you know what I mean, and so he's kind of always kind of taken up the mantle of her, and so that's kind of what it represents. But
Which I mean, he takes that role of mama's boy more really towards the scene where he finds out his father's dead. He's like, okay, well, I don't want to be what my father was. I want to be more like what my mother is, in a way.
100%. But yeah, it's so true. But and you even look at like
you can tell during the beginning of the film that he really didn't want to do what his dad was doing.
Well, you can even tell too that it's such a female predominant thing by the way that Oscar Isaac Leto, at first he's not really for the Bene Gesserit thing. He's really against it. But like then once he feels like he's gonna go out, he talks to her. He says, and this is in the book too, and I was so glad they played this.
Yeah, he's like, I want you to protect him, but I'm not talking to the mother. I'm talking to the Bene Gesserit. That I honestly loved when he said that.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not asking if the mother will protect him. I'm asking if the Bene Gesserit will protect him.
Dude,
and it was honestly amazing. Yeah.
Oh my,
so good.
Honestly, that whole scene with Oscar Isaac and Rebecca Ferguson was incredible.
He's finally. Well, I mean, the first thing that happened there was like he couldn't produce the spice the way that he thought he was going to, so he knew he was kind of fucked. And he was like, he's coming to terms with things are going to have to be done the way that they're going to have to be done in order to protect my family.
Here's another thing that kind of blew my mind that I feel like is what he meant when he said this. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just throwing some shit out in the blue. But when because I feel like Paul took it that way when he found out his father was dead, was when Oscar Isaac said to Paul, he's like, we need the desert power from this planet. I feel like he always knew that Paul was going to be a Fremen, because ultimately now he's going to become a Fremen and get the desert power. I feel like he always kind of knew in a way that his son was going to be a Fremen.
You know what? I never thought of it that way. I think that I think
again, I might be, but I like that take.
But I like the take though. I
You
really
see,
do. Well, I always looked at it as Duke
look,
Leto always thought of his son highly, and I always think that he just held Paul to higher standards.
That's like creative mind right there. Me thinking like
No, it's
that, but
good. I love the take, but I do think that Duke Leto always thought, and I always thought this, that Duke Leto always thought that Paul would be something special, or could be, and could live up to that potential, and I think that shows.
And that's the thing too is Paul's mother thought the same as well.
Yeah.
Saying to the Reverend Mother's like,
Well,
okay, yeah, he is a boy, but he is the one.
he probably thought that. He probably thought that in his head, but the thing was, he had to accept it, and I don't think it was till he knew he was going to go out that he finally came to terms with what was going to happen to Paul, what was going to happen to Lady Jessica.
Because I was gonna say, because that's when he was talking to Lady Jessica. He's like, yeah, I'm not talking to the mother. I'm talking to the
Bene Gesserit, right? And it's
like,
powerful.
At that point, he was like, okay, yeah, my son's he's not gonna take over my role. He's gonna become something greater, and he's gonna he's gonna get this desert power and become a lot more important than I ever really was.
Right.
Which honestly, that's what I'm talking about. This movie is so complex. We talk about so much. Like
there is a lot of lore and a lot of shit.
I love this film so much.
Are we missing any cast members that we should maybe touch on? Too, because like I think for the most part we hit them all.
I don't want to. Oh, hold on. Let me look up who it is.
Well, there was David Dalsmashian, who was really good too in this movie. He's been.
I was gonna say he was in some other stuff that I really enjoyed too.
Yeah, he was good. He was in a lot, but he was good.
Well, he was in the new Suicide Squad movie as Polka Dot Man.
Yes, he was. He was really good in this.
He was in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
He was in Bird Box. He was in Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
He was in The Dark Knight. But what's her name? Hold on, because I don't want to.
No, you're good. I mean, I'll just keep going.
Sharon Duncan Brewster. She's British, but
was that the first Fremen that came on the scene that we saw?
Yes.
Okay, yes, so she was really good too. Yes,
dude, that's one cast member we forgot. Dude, she was
small amount of screen time, but did really well.
She was incredible.
Well,
the scene where she she knew she was gonna die when she was trying to ride the sandworm.
Yes.
That scene was incredible.
That was good stuff, actually. You're not wrong.
That was that was incredible. That was honestly probably the best that she's done there.
Oh, she was really good. One other part I wanted to talk about.
There's one other part I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, well, I was gonna touch on the big battle that happens right toward the middle of the movie. So like,
you're talking about when the Harkonnen come?
So the Harkonnen come out, and then
I was gonna say Jason's Momoa scene in that film was also incredible. Yeah. The way he was just taking out those Harkonnen.
That's what I wanted to mention. There was a part too where he looked fucking angry, and like he held out his knife and pointed at one of them. I was so thrilled with that. I was like, get him.
You know what I found? You know what was the scene I found really funny was when he was taking out the Harkonnen, and he goes up the steps and kind of like is kind of hidden and looks up. And he starts taking out the Harkonnen, and then the rest of the Harkonnen kind of just let him go and take the ship because they're scared as fuck because they want to die.
Right.
I was like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it was. It was great.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say too. Is that this whole concept that he did with the shield, that was really cool.
Well, the shields are kind of their version of the lightsaber, in my opinion.
You have to go at like a certain speed to kill the person. Because like if you go fast, then it blocks it. But you have to go like at a certain speed.
It was great,
dude. Honestly, incredible.
Yeah,
honestly, incredible.
Agreed, man.
And that's where I saw a video that Denis Villeneuve was like, That's where the fighting style. That's why he went with the fighting style that he went with Jason Momoa. The way he fought, he went with that kind of fight style because of the shields.
Exactly,
which
makes sense.
Thoroughly enjoyed. Honestly, it was incredible.
Yeah. Well, that's something I wanted to touch on too. Was the fact that this movie, it's when you get the action again, like the hand-to-hand combat stuff is done incredibly well. It's mostly done in one take. Like everybody who was doing it learned their stunts, especially the Momoa scene, and then you also had the one with Brolin and Chalamet. Like they knew their stunts, man. They were all doing their own stunts. It was great.
Yeah, the training scene with Josh Brolin and Timothy was incredible.
Yeah,
honestly,
I just love the way Brolin approached him as Gurney, and he was just like, the fact that because Paul is like, he's a little ignorant at this point, too, or naive, maybe is a better word. Paul's a
Yeah.
little naive, and he's kind of messing with Gurney, and I love that relationship. But then it's funny too when he does it. He actually plays it well. It's not annoying. It comes off funny. But then Gurney's like, no, you gotta take this shit seriously.
I was gonna say, like, you don't understand. You
Yeah.
need to. I've seen some shit, and you need to take this shit seriously.
Yeah, and he's like, never leave your back to the door. How many times have I told you? I love that line. That was so good when he walked in.
I guess another scene that I was like, oh shit, was when Paul was having that vision of Lady Jessica with that baby in her hand, and they both had like the Fremen eyes. I was like, oh shit, and then he went up to her, and he's like, I know you're pregnant. I was like,
and she's like, you're not supposed to know that. Yep.
Bro, that was a what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
When I was watching. My jaw literally, when that scene, my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, what?
As per this film, we still don't have all the answers, but you know,
Dude, I was like, what?
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's just like, yeah, there's so many moments like that. I like the unexpected in this movie for people who
That's
haven't
what I
read the
mean.
book.
Like, dude, there were so many what the fuck moments in this film. I was like,
That's why I love, because like I was watching
Christ.
this, I was like, when I was watching, at least the second time when I was going through, the first time I was just worried about how well it was going to be done. The second time I watched it, I was like, so many people are going to be like, what the fuck through this, aren't they? Because they haven't read the book, they don't know. And so I was like, I hope that,
like me, for example.
and I hope that pays off for him. And for you, it did, obviously. And I think for a lot of people, it probably did who saw it. And
Because if anything, it just leaves me with more questions and theories.
Yeah.
Which obviously helps for this because we get to talk about it.
yeah, let's talk about the ending a little bit, because the way it ended, I thought was great. I think like Dune is like, it's one of those stories, like when you read the book, you're going to be like, if you read the book, you would probably say to yourself, this is really not a good place to end it.
I guess one thing before we talk about the ending that I actually saw in a theory video. I watched it in a theory video. Was that this guy was saying how, you remember when there was that hunter that was trying to kill Paul with that little
Right.
Yeah. So you know how he always had that little like tape recorder thing that projected stuff onto the screen.
Correct.
Yeah. He was seeing those like trees or vines or whatever, and there was like a little rat there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see him again when they get out of that little hut that they're hiding in,
Mm-hmm.
and then he sees it again in a vision. That guy was saying that rat has like a way bigger impact and importance to Paul.
Right.
Than people think.
Right.
Yeah. I found that like, because I didn't really think much of that rat until I saw that video. I was like, okay, this rat thing probably has like,
and I recall that specifically for good reason.
Much bigger importance for Paul. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, well, you'll see. But the thing that I would say about this is, we're getting into the ending now, because first of all, I love the way it ended, because if you read the Dune book, there's really not a good spot to end a part one. There's not, genuinely, because it does all just fit as one big story. So I was constantly thinking to myself watching it the first time, where are they going to end it?
It probably all just all like flows perfectly. Read the book, just keeps going.
It does. I'll say this, like the book is split up actually into 3 parts, the first book. But but I knew that they were gonna try to go for the first half of the book. I had heard that prior, so I was wondering, like, if you're gonna do the first half, you have to end the second part of the book then at some point. And I was trying to figure out where. I was surprised because I actually thought that they were gonna end it, and I thought this would have been a good spot too, but a lot more cliffhangery. The second he saw Zendaya is where I thought they were going to end it. Second he saw Chani, I thought that would have been an interesting way.
You mean when she had? Are you talking about like before the fight when she was like up behind him?
Yeah, I thought they were going to end it somewhere around there, and that's only because
that would have been a lot more cliffhangery. Yeah,
it would have been more cliffhangery. But I'm really happy that they managed to end it where they did, though, because I was like, well, you got a little bit more movie, and that kind of starts off Paul's big adventure, so it makes sense. The point I want to make by this, though, is the fact that when people say, oh, you can't fit a lot into 2.5-hour movies, and I'm guilty of this too. Because a lot of us have said in the past, and we, many times is, oh, well, they only had 2.5 hours to tell that story, so give them a break because there's not a lot you can put into it. Denise shows you could do a lot in 2.5 hours. You can throw a lot into 2.5 hours. You pace it right. You work it in right. You can do it. It's all doable. It's like there's almost after watching this is one thing I'll say about this movie. I just feel like there's no excuses anymore to not be able to throw more depth and more story into something because you can do it. It's doable. You can always do that. And
Yeah, because like where he ended it was still like very cliffhangery for sure.
yeah, 100%. And he worked it out. And
Because you're still you still come out of the movie thinking like, all right, well, what's gonna happen next to Paul?
Yeah.
What is Chani gonna be like? What kind of impact is she gonna play in Paul's life? Because when she saw Paul kill oh my god, I've already forgotten, Jameis. I'm the look that Zendaya gives Paul was like, well, damn, I didn't think he was gonna kill him, but now he has, so he's got to be the one. And so like,
yeah,
at that point you're like, all right, cool. So what impact is so what kind of adventure and impact is she gonna have on him and stuff like that? So yeah,
and this is a movie that overall just paced itself right, gave itself that sense of intrigue and wonder, and I love that about it. It still makes it. I'll never forget seeing this movie. Like, regardless of how great part 2 is, this movie's always going to stick with me, and I think that's a big deal. And it's shot well. And one more thing, Hans Zimmer's score, as always, was phenomenal. I mean, he scored this movie perfectly.
Hans Zimmer will always just be one of the greatest composers to live. Like, his scores in this film too are incredible. Like he really delivered for this film. And, it was great.
Yeah, for sure. We have time for one more question from you, as far as you asking me something for the book reader, as the book reader, and I'll be happy to answer whatever you got. Just one more question.
I gotta make it a good one then.
Yeah, make it good. We got time for one more, but yeah, I mean, guys, honestly, if you haven't seen Dune yet, come on, check it out in the IMAX if you can.
You honestly, like if you haven't seen it at this point, you need to go watch it because this film is on.
If you can't, check it out on your big TV with your sound bar or surround sound or whatever you got.
On HBO Max, yeah, honestly. Yeah.
It's just a great movie regardless, but yeah, I'm telling you guys. But yeah, what you got something?
I mean, like, I've trying to think because we've talked about a lot, but there's still so much more.
Covered a lot.
But there's just still so much more to this film.
We've gotten a lot, yeah. We've covered a lot, but yeah. Yeah. Yeah, maybe just anything you were confused on or something, or just something that you maybe felt like you didn't understand entirely or anything. I'd be happy to answer, but for especially for the people out there who haven't seen or haven't read the book and might be confused on stuff, what do you think that they're going to want to hear? And maybe we can go with something like that, possibly. But I'll tell you guys though, it's just it's damn near perfect movie. It really has no flaws. It's so damn good. I love it so much, and I want more people to go out there and see it. So if you get the chance, please do. I'm telling you, you won't regret your decision on that. It's wonderful. I've been saying for years, Denis is one of the best filmmakers out there, and he really just shows it here. This might be his best film so far, so for sure. Anyway, you got something?
I'm trying to think of something that you can answer that's not related to the book.
Well, I'll answer from the book, but just not spoiler heavy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just like,
I guess
spoilers for the next one, but that's right.
Go ahead. I guess my question would be, well, I guess there's multiple questions. It would be.
Oh, go ahead. Ask a couple, but why not?
Is so the kid that Paul sees in his vision is that
kid? I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that Oscar Isaacs, or did she get with a Fremen like?
I'm not going to answer that, but I'll say this. You'll be happy with the result. I guess.
I don't know why when I think about that, I just think about that she got with the main Fremen guy, but I don't know why I
I
keep
can't answer
thinking
that, but
it's
you'll be
him.
happy with the
He's like
result.
the
That's all
one
I'll
that's
say.
in my. I know. That's like the guy that's just in my head for
Well,
some reason
you'll
for
be
that
happy
kid.
with the result. I know you'll be happy with the result. I can at least answer that knowing you. You'll be happy with the result, knowing your opinion on the movie. So I'll say that, and also that it's just it might not play as big a part as you think, just depending on how Denis wants to go into it, I guess. But it's a big
Okay,
part, but it might not play as big a part. It just depends on how Denis wants to go into it. But I think either way, you'll be happy with the result. So I could at least say that. Yeah.
so I guess because I guess my next question is so she is either either always been a Fremen or she had that baby when she became a Fremen,
Mm,
meaning that will be explained more in the second film.
well, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because my only theory for that is that that was a vision, obviously, because his visions are from the future. So my only theory is that she had that baby when she was already a Fremen, and she had it with another Fremen because her husband is already dead.
Yeah.
So
I, I, I
that's the
kind of
only
have a
theory.
similar answer though, because the thing I'll say, because let me just touch on this as a whole, because I've heard a lot of the theories. Honestly, I've listened to the videos and theories people have who haven't read the book and stuff. A lot of these theories, I like them because it comes from very creative minds. The story,
Are mind creative?
absolutely. Absolutely. And they are, and I love that. And I think that it even gives me a peace of mind in a way, even having read the book. And the reason why is because um, Dune is going to be a story that's going to constantly leave you thinking. Like,
100%.
even when you get part two, so I guess my point is have theories on things, but don't expect straightforward answers to everything. So always constantly think, but if you have an expectation to
Yeah,
have straightforward answers to
that's
everything, you're not going to get those. But I also think like it's all going to
that's the
depend on
point.
how
That's
Denis wants to
that's.
portray it.
I mean, I guess that's the point of having theories, because I
Yeah.
mean, you really shouldn't expect straightforward answers from theories. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
point of having theories is to have your own opinion on something, wanting maybe hopefully getting what it is that you want, but in the end result, what you get is still great.
A lot of the thing I think or a lot of the reason I think you'll be thrilled with it, Jose, is because you like to think after these movies come out and you like to talk about, and so like for me, that's kind of how the story of Doom was written. It was written for people who like to think, who didn't want all the straight answers. But that said, I think I look at Denis as an individual person who has an individual take. And so that's why I constantly say it's kind of going to come down to how he looks at it. So some things might even surprise me going into the second part because he's going to have his own take and his own theories on this stuff. And if he wants to put that in the movie, that's his right at the end of the day.
Right, right.
And so like that's my kind of point on things is like there are things that are definitely going to be left in the open. Not everything you're going to get straight answers on some stuff, but there's other things you're not going to get straight answers for. And so, like, while I don't want to give it away specifically what it is and what it isn't, Denis kind of his own guy. He's going to interpret this how he interprets it, and he's going to put it on the screen the way he interprets it. That's the way I think of it. And maybe to some book readers that will be
But
disappointing because maybe they want it to stay ambiguous. And I'm not saying that he won't leave everything off the table for interpretation, but I also think that he's also going to put his own mind, his own theories into the way he thinks of it, the
which
way he looks at it.
which will be the theories of some people, obviously. Um,
Yeah, and some people are going to have it right, other people are going to have it wrong. It's like I don't want to Kevin Feige this thing, but that's just the truth. Because that's Feige's big thing is like, well, there's a lot of fan theories out there. Some people are right, some people are wrong. That's his answer to everything. But to me, it's genuinely the fact that like Frank Herbert is a guy who just wanted to write a think piece, and to me, he did that. And whether Denis thinks he has the answers or not is up to him. And he
well, I
might put
mean,
that in the film.
according to you, so far he's had it for the first part of this book.
I
So
think so. I think he's done a great
I, c-
job.
I can only imagine that he will
Yeah.
do the same thing for the second part.
Yeah,
So
I think the second part of Dune is a lot bigger on scale, and it's going to be a lot more epic on scale. But I also
yes,
think
because
that some of the
there's just so much still to tell for this book, and that's why I think it's just going to be bigger and better than the first part.
but again, there might be decisions made that Denis takes that might disappoint some book readers and might please them. It just depends on how he looks at it, and
I mean,
and
it's the
he
same. It's the same with this first part. I mean, there's some book readers who agreed, and others that probably didn't.
Yeah, 100%. I think Denis is going to continue down that path. I think that's a good thing. I think he should. I think he should put his interpretation of the story on the screen, and that's the fact. That's just the facts. And there are theories out there that some people are going to get the straight answers to, and some people aren't. And Denis might leave more things ambiguous than are ambiguous in the book too, and that's something else he did here. Is in the book will describe a lot of things to you in detail, and Denis left them ambiguous, so you just don't know. And that's why I hesitate to answer the question straight in this movie form, especially because I know that Denis is going to give his own interpretation of whatever it is, and so like in my opinion of the whole thing is it's Frank Herbert's story, and Denis adapting it the best he can, but Denis is also an artist, and I don't expect any less of him than to continue to be an artist, to put his own art on the screen. And so to some degree, these are going to be Denis' stories to some degree.
Right.
So he'll continue on that path. And I love that. I love that for it. And that makes me even more excited because there's things that he might do in the second film that might surprise me. I'm going to give you guys a good example. This is a really good example. Different director, but another one of my favorites working today is Damien Chazelle. Damien Chazelle is a great director. And he told the story of, he did the movie First Man. I love the movie First Man. It's his third film in his filmography. With Ryan Gosling, and Ryan Gosling played Buzz Aldrin, who clearly was the moon landing. Now, if you see First Man, and this was a very divisive decision, Buzz Aldrin's daughter or son, was it his son, or I think it was his daughter, made a bracelet for him in the movie. Now, in the movie, Buzz Aldrin left that bracelet on the moon. Now, we don't know if that's fact or fiction, but that's just a theory that Chazelle had. That's an interpretation, in my opinion, that Damien Chazelle had of that real story. That maybe Buzz Aldrin left something on the moon when he went up there. Now, it's not fact, but that's an interpretation of it. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing with Dune, I feel. I feel like Denis Villeneuve is going to make his own sort of facts along with the story. He's going to, like, if there's something that he feels like he'll do it. You know what I mean? That's my interpretation of the way
Right.
Denis directs or tells stories. Is like, if he feels like that was how it went, he'll probably do it. And he'll probably make that his definitive answer, at least for his films. But I could be wrong on that. Maybe he'll just stay completely true to the books. But I do feel like he'll put a couple of his own interpretations in there. I think you almost have to, because I think it's the best way to go about it. It's just the best way to take the risks as an artist and to make it your own. That's another thing I like about this movie. If I could sum this movie up, it's like Denis told the story as best as he could and as true as he could to the book, but he also kind of made it his own. He gave it its own tone. It's definitely a Denis movie. It's like without a doubt a Denis movie. If you look at his other work, it matches with his filmography. It's just like a perfect next step for him in his filmography, and he made it his own. I love that about this film, and I hope he just keeps doing it, man, because I want to look back at Denis Villeneuve's filmography and say each movie had a through line in a way, which with all of his movies, each film kind of like felt like an him evolving with each continuous film. Just a little bit. He evolved with each continuous film in some kind of way. And Dune Part 2 is going to be no exception. So, anyway, I probably rambled on that
100%.
for so long, but that's the best answer I can give. But, guys, Dune, have you seen it? Why not? Go. IMAX. Do it now.
Honestly, go IMAX. No other way.
It's
but
phenomenal.
IMAX.
And look, man, I've been so stoked to talk to you about this in depth, and I'm so glad we did. Go ahead and give your
Same.
closing
Honestly,
thoughts on
I've
this
been.
too, if you would.
I mean, I've said it. I'll say it again. Denis Villeneuve, incredible directing. The shots in this film are incredible. Hans Zimmer, the score, incredible throughout the entire film. Um, the cast, hands down to all of them because they came to work and they did their all. They did incredible. Um, overall, as a film, loved it, enjoyed it. My favorite film of this year. I've said it. I'll say it again. Um, super excited for the second part, honestly. Um, and again, if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it IMAX. There's no other way, honestly. Like this film was made for IMAX. Um, I'll take that to my gravestone, honestly. Like write it on my tombstone. Dune made for IMAX.
Yeah.
Um,
And now I'm done.
but yeah, and, but yeah, no, honestly, great film, great overall. Just the sci-fi, obviously, I love sci-fi. The emotions in this movie, incredible. Everyone did incredible. And yeah, I'd rate this movie a 20 out of 10, honestly. And yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted a list of the best actors working today, look no further than the cast list of this film. I mean, because he really did get the best actors
100%.
working today, and that's an amazing achievement alone. And the fact that they all were perfectly cast for the characters that they were playing, and that it all got pulled off, and it's one thing to just get a group of great actors, but to get them together and like make them work together well is a whole other level.
Exactly.
And he did that, and
oh yeah,
he did that perfectly. So I'm so thrilled with this film, and guys, I really do hope you check it out. And HBO Max if you have to, I guess, but I mean, I do recommend the IMAX. So that'll wrap this up. And Jose, thank you so much for joining. Honestly, yes, and thank you so much for joining.
Of
and
course, I was. This was so much fun, honestly.
Absolutely, man. I was so excited to have this conversation with this topic. So, where can people find you before we go?
All socials, type 1 Latino all together, all lowercase and on stereo as well.
Absolutely, guys. Yeah, we have Star Wars Sunday on stereo as well. Just to let everybody know, we're going to be doing Revenge of the Sith, which is going to wrap up the core films for us. We'll do Solo in a couple weeks or so as well. So just look forward to that one. But that will wrap up the core films for us. So we're excited to do that. The next thing that I wanted to mention to you guys is we do have Movie Mornings, which is a podcast that's been airing on Wednesday mornings, and I'm very excited to share that with y'all. And I think Jose is as well. He and I have been doing that, working hard on that to try to get that out to you every single week. It's been a challenge, but we've managed to do it, and it's fun. It's so much fun to do. But the fact is we do have a clips channel right now, and I want more of y'all to go check that out too. You can catch some fun clips over there. We don't have a whole lot up, but go on over. It's a Movie Morning Clips on YouTube. Just check it out. It's wonderful.
The Halloween Kills is my favorite one.
Yeah, I think it's everybody's. It's got the most views. So so we're very excited to share that with you guys as well. So check out that, and that's also on Spotify, Movie Morning. So make sure you guys check that out. Hey, before we get going though, this has been another episode of Bro Down, and I've been Don Martino. That's been Jose Espinel. I appreciate you guys joining. You can find me on Twitter at on Twitter at Dom_Martino_, and on Instagram, Dom_Martino_ official. And then the Anorax pages are on Twitter and Instagram at Anorax official. So make sure you guys go follow over there. We've been working really, really hard to try to update you guys on everything going on lately. And so I really hope you appreciate that as well, and can go over there and follow and keep up with us. Even though we might be posting news you heard a week ago, hey, fuck it. It's coming from us, and we're telling you how we feel about it. So that's the point. So yeah, guys, anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, hit the bell for notifications, and we'll see you guys later.